And Rob, we opened the show, NFL, Odell Beckham to the Rams. What does it all mean? Are they going to win the Super Bowl? Why haven't the odds changed, etc.? Well, Odell wasn't the only other big name that, I guess you would say switch teams. Cam Newton didn't have a team, but Cam Newton going home, if you will. Of course, he was the number 1 overall pick in the, I think it was 2010 NFL draft after leading Auburn to a national championship. Has a bunch of great years in Carolina, takes him to a Super Bowl, wins an MVP. Obviously, it did not work out with the New England Patriots this year, who cut him right before the season started and named Mac Jones their starting quarterback. Cam has been out of work. Cam has been looking for work. And on Thursday, Rob, Cam Newton officially became a member of the Carolina Panthers. So I actually want to ask you kind of a random question in a minute. But first of all, just your first initial reaction to seeing Cam Newton named or signing with the Carolina Panthers.
I was just like, well, it's great that he's getting back in the league. It was weird that he's going back, trying to get back with an ex. It didn't end well there, and the way he was kind of treated but I think at some point you got to, survey the land and try to figure out if you still want to play football. That might be his only opportunity. Do you really want to sit out all of this whole year and not play and hold on to some silly pride and say, I'm not going back there. I'd never put on that uniform again. He had some great years there. He's an MVP, right? Went to a Super Bowl. So I'm happy for him back in the league. And if that's the only opportunity he really has, then I'm not mad at him. I think people sometimes, let their pride get in the way. And I don't know, Aaron, have you ever gone back, somewhere where maybe you weren't wanted, or would you do that? And in Cam's case here, I think his options were limited. We're at the halfway point of the NFL season. And if it's not now, it probably would be never this year.
I was going to say, first of all, I give Cam credit. It's clear, you kind of, when we had CL Brown in hour one, who's a beat writer down there in North Carolina and is around that team, we kind of made the joke about the clothes and the fashion, all that stuff. And Cam clearly has a lot of interest off the field, but he clearly still wants to play football. He's a guy that...
and he's not old. You know that. He's not old.
He's not old. But, he's a guy that whenever he decides to retire or whenever he ultimately ends his football career, he's going to have a lot of options. And so I do give him credit because, one, we can argue, debate, discuss the whole vaccine thing. Was that part of the reason why he was let go? We know that some coaches, Urban Meyer, came out and said that went into decisions on final cuts, all that stuff. But I just bring it up to say he got the vaccine. We're not here to debate what's right, what's wrong, whatever. But he felt like he needed to do that to get back in the league. So he is showing to me that he really wants to be back in this league. And so to me, Rob, I will tell you straight up, I ultimately have no problem with going back with the ex. I know it was a messy breakup. CL Brown even referenced it last hour. Just the way that it went down, it was kind of sudden. It was kind of all out of nowhere that he ended up leaving the organization. But as you said, he clearly wants to play. 2, he was running out of options. And 3, I just think it's one of those deals where go back, ball out. This by the way, this situation in Carolina is wide open. It's not as though you are coming in for a guy that's hurt, that's going to be out for a week or two, and when he comes back, he's the definitive starter. Sam Darnold hasn't been very good, and so Cam Newton has been waiting for any type of opportunity, but this is about as good a one as you could ask for, Rob, because if he plays well, the guy that he's replacing ain't getting that job back when he comes back from his injury.
No, I'm with you. I think Sam Darnold has played himself out of the NFL to me.
I agree.
I really do. I really believe that now. Like, he got off to that 3-0 start. He wasn't lighting it up, but he was playing, good. He's playing good. He wasn't turning the ball over. He wasn't making dumb mistakes. So you start to look at him and go, well, maybe it's just the New York Jetropolitans. That was the problem, because Sam Darnold looked like a decent quarterback where he looked like a terrible one with the Jets. But then the turnover started. So, yeah, there's an opportunity to be seized. And if he can get back on the field, get out there, win some games, and who knows, if somehow they have a nice run, make the playoffs, and Cam was the savior, Superman, it could work out. And then even if he doesn't stay there, it could just show he's a viable quarterback again. And then you would have some suitors. Because I still think 15 teams need quarterbacks. Am I right in this league? Like, seriously.
No, yeah. I was going to say absolutely. And the other thing, too, to consider, Rob, is for a couple things. One, the NFL draft is not going to provide those guys this year. You know, I love college football. There is no Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there's even.
So the cupboard's bare this year, huh?
Yeah, and it's there. There is going to be. I don't know where the guys are going to come from. And Rob, I'm looking at the Carolina schedule right now. They do play at Arizona this Sunday. Who knows if Cam will be ready to go by then? But
I don't think he's starting this week, right?
Yeah, but they play Washington, which stinks. They play the Dolphins, which stink. They play Atlanta, who stinks. And then their last 3 or 4 pretty tough. 2 games against Tampa, 1 game at Buffalo. But, I mean, you get on a little roll here. Again, it's not. No one thinks he's going to be 2015 MVP Cam Newton. But this job is wide open. And on top of that, Rob, as you said, if this is a good enough showcase, independent of whether the Panthers need a quarterback at the end of the year, whether they draft somebody, whether they go out and get somebody else, there are going to be other teams that need a guy, and this is kind of the perfect scenario for him to come back in.
It really is. And, you know, some people just would never, ever go backwards in life. Like, I think I'm that way when it comes to, like, relationships, but not when it comes to work or opportunity. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yep.
You know, like relationships, no. If things didn't work out or whatever, I normally will not go backwards. It is what it is. It didn't work out, and you move on, and that's how I am. But going back to work somewhere, and I guess it all depends on fully how you're treated, but then also in a business like the National Football League, it's not like there's 1,000 employers and you can go somewhere else and work, you know what I mean, at
Sure.
another company. It's just a small number of teams that will allow you to do what you do professionally, which is to be an NFL quarterback. So from Cam's perspective, I'm sure, you know, he had to swallow a little bit and go like, I guess, you know, like this is my chance. And I think he made the right decision. What is
the one of the best emotions in life? It's spite, and it's proving people wrong. And so maybe that's part of this too. Is y'all didn't think I was good enough? Y'all thought y'all had a plan. You went with Teddy Bridgewater, that didn't work. You went with Sam Darnold, that didn't work. By the way, I won a few games in New England last year. I wasn't great, but I wasn't terrible either, all things considered. And so, you know. Yeah, you don't want to move backwards, but I will say this isn't like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a husband or a wife that you're going back to. This is a chance to prove them wrong. This is a chance, Rob. You see your girlfriend across the bar, you say, let's go out for dinner tomorrow, and then you cancel and you send her a picture of who you're actually going out to dinner with. That's what Cam Newton, that's the opportunity that he has right now to show the Carolina Panthers, hey, you guys were wrong. I was right. I still got something left in the tank. And then again, maybe he has options, and maybe he's the one that gives him the stiff arm walking out the building this offseason if he gets another job.
He could be. What's your gut on Cam? Because, I mean, down there he was incredible. Even the year he won the Super Bowl, if you remember, he had 35 touchdowns, and he ran for 10 more. So he had 45 touchdowns that year when he was MVP. But we saw in New England, he had difficulty throwing the football. He still can get the ball and running it. But I don't know. I mean, I think people will have to watch. And this could be it, Aaron, if he can't throw the football and he can't be a passer as well, because he's slowed down. He's not the same runner, obviously, as you get older and you battle all these injuries and whatnot. I think it's imperative that he showed that he can pass the football, and if he bottoms out here, it's all done. I don't think anybody. If he plays poorly for the Panthers, I think it's done.
Well, absolutely, and I'm rooting for him. I wish him well, but I think we have to be realistic about where things are. I mean, this was a guy that really his last full season in Carolina, they completely fell apart down the stretch. It wasn't all his fault, but he was pretty banged up. They were 6-3 at one point, finished the regular season 7-9. I'm not great at math, Rob, but that is a 1-6 finish as best I can tell. Then he gets hurt the following year, and then we saw him limited in New England. And so when I look at this situation, I'm sitting there saying, I don't blame him for going backwards. I don't blame him for having spite. I don't blame him for any of that. I do worry a little bit, though, or wonder how much is really left in the tank because he's obviously taken a lot of hits through the years.
He sure has. And, I'm not so sure how healthy he was last year. I mean, I'm not making an excuse for him. And then he had COVID. You remember last year when he came back, he was never the same. Like it just didn't work after that happened. So it's going to be interesting to see.